Welcome to the Send More Offers Real Estate Show with Brandon Barnes, showing you how to do wholesaling deals consistently without having to go on seller appointments. Learn the key tips and strategies that Brandon's students use to find deeply discounted properties that are pennies on the dollar, all while avoiding wear and tear on their vehicle, body, and freedom. Whether you're looking for your first deal or your next deal, it's time to send more offers with your host, Brandon Barnes.
Hey, Chris, how's it going? Welcome to the show.
Very good. Brandon, good to see you. I look forward to diving in here.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I want to talk about everything that you have going on. But, what I know you as is, the wicked smart real estate coach, right? And I've picked up some of your content, checked out some of your books about creative financing and putting deals together the right way. How did all that start? Like when you first got into real estate, did you just jump head first into creative financing, deal engineering?
No, I wish I did. I mean, I'm going to date myself, but I've been at this month for 32 years, 91.
Oh my goodness.
So no, I didn't. I didn't go creative officially, like laser focus, wrap a system around it, trademark all the stuff we did. I didn't do that till like after the crash of 2008, and it wasn't like a light bulb went off and I said, oh, this is the answer. It took me 4 years to get out of my way, meaning mentally I was all messed up because I got beat up in 2008. So by like the end of 12, my wife finally talked me into going back in the biz, and I said, okay, if I'm going to do it though, what are sort of going to be my protocol, my rules? And that was no bank loans, no signing personally, buying everything creatively. And for us, that's a few different ways, but that was the pivotal moment. We had to re-engineer everything after that crash.
Yeah, makes sense. So just tell us real quick, those years prior to the crash, what did you take away from that experience? What did you, aside from no bank loans, not signing personally, what were some things that you were able to put together or generate deal wise that you would still do to this day?
Yeah, good question, because there were some cool things. I mean, to this day, there's like my first deal ever. I love the nature of it. It was a split level home with an extra piece of land there. And I love doing these because they exist everywhere. We subdivided the land. We put a duplex up, which in that area you could condominiumize, which we did. And then we ended up keeping the house, but it was already paid for with the profits from the extra piece we subdivided. So I love doing those. Those are cool deals. I have a little, like when I had a brokerage in the 90s, Brandon, I was teaching this to my brokers, my agents, and they're all like, wow, no one teaches. Like to this day, nobody teaches how to go find a piece of land, what that means, and how to, add value to it. So those are still cool deals.
Nice. And just to be clear, the deals that you were doing pre-market crash, were you finding these direct to seller? Were you working with a brokerage or a broker to generate these properties? Like, how were you going about getting those deals in the beginning?
Early 90s, before 95, we would find land and build homes. That's what we were doing back then. Myself and a partner. I didn't know how to build a house to save my life, but I had a partner who did that, and I did the office work. And then 95, I bought a Realty Executive Franchise, so then it became more conventional. For the first time ever, I had a broker hat on. And then I sold that in 2000 to Coldwell Banker. So then I switched back to, okay, we're going to lead gen by, virtual assistants calling people and mailers and things like that. That was, pre-crash. That's what we were doing to generate leads.
Love it. So fast forward to today. What does business look like for you now? Because you've been around the world, you've done it all, you've seen it all. How are you finding deals today?
Yep. We find them pretty conventionally, meaning anyone. I say anyone can do it. It's pretty standard. We call our virtual assistants call expired listings that didn't sell with realtors. They call for sale by owners. They call for rent by owners. And then if somebody like a student doesn't have enough leads within those three areas, then we help them get what we call into a niche list. I have a student, for example. I'll think of a few. One student loves the absentee owners, so out of state owners. Those are great, especially post-COVID. That's a great list. I have another student that loves, same as me, out of state and free and clear, which is how I bought this building, which we may talk about later. But free and clear properties are awesome because first of all, you can buy a list anywhere, right? You know that, like you can buy a list of anything. But the free and clear I love because we structure owner financing deals with them, and they actually accept monthly principal payments only 99% of the time, like no interest. So they tend to just want their price. when they're free and clear. So long answer to you.
Yeah. No, I mean, so I want you to go on and break it down in the simplest form, because I think a lot of the deals that folks are doing today, generally, right? You get into real estate investing, maybe you start in wholesaling. You're just looking for cash deals. Most people are just looking for cash deals. They're making offers, cash deals, cash offers on these properties, and sometimes they don't work. Would it be your advice to learn the skill set of being able to put together, create a financing deal from now? Or do you say, hey, no, you need to be able to just focus on creative and go down that route?
I think, and I don't mean to step on anyone's toes here, because I have a lot of really good friends that are flippers, that are wholesalers. I have it, and they're on my show. But the fact is, especially in hindsight, people say, well, I'll get into wholesaling first. That equates to one of our sort of exits, which is called an AO and a sign out. But the fact is, though, that's like having a job. It's like when I was a broker, you do 100 deals a year, then I go, oh man, it's January, I got to go do this all over again. That's a job, in my opinion. Whereas with the creative real estate, I say, yes, get into it right away. We have students that come at us brand new. Get in it right away. Why? Because you get the chance to do the same techniques. Like you're gonna learn the basic knowledge, but you get to exit in our world with 3 paydays. So you get money now, which everybody does when they do a deal. That's great. That's transactional. But then you get ongoing cash flow, and then you get predictable someday in the future cash out and wealth building. To me, if you and I were to open a restaurant tomorrow, Brandon, that'd be a good formula, right? But it has to be phenomenal with properties, and doesn't matter what asset class either. So short answer is get in it early. There's just, in our world, would I tell a new student to go out and buy a bunch of property sub 2 or owner financing? No, not probably if you're brand new, but would I have you do lease purchase? Yes. So there's just different categories within creative that you can start to ease into.
Got it. Love it. And I want to dive into that a little bit because there is that fear out there. And for somebody that's just, kind of brand new to this, that's listening to the creative aspect of finding a deal, from a homeowner, purchasing it creatively, and then placing a tenant buyer in there to live in the property and to kind of pay off the monthly payments or whatever you set up with the seller. Like there's that fear of like, what if they don't perform, or what if something happens to the house? How do you go around that with your newer students that are just jumping in, even just to lease purchase options? Yeah.
This is by far the biggest question that gets asked, but also the biggest, I think, kind of scar in the industry. Here's what I mean by that. If you go on to podcasts, like publicly, this isn't a secret. You have educators that do what we do or try to do what we do, who say publicly, hey, we're going to do this rent-own thing and we're going to put in buyers in these properties. And it doesn't matter if they cash out because you just get to do it again. And okay, they might be right, and that they might morally, ethically be okay with that model, but I think it stinks because they convert like 5 to 20% of their buyers. That's awful. That's a bad percentage. My son Nick, since 2014, has run the sort of the buyer side of our business personally and for all the students. And we have a strict process, Brandon. When they come in, we're looking for who? We're looking for buyers, not renters that have this dream. They've had messed up credit for 40 years. Nothing against that. I've had messed up credit, but I fixed it, right? I didn't have 40 years. So we want buyers that truly can buy. They either were delayed because of COVID or delayed because of the rates just went up. They need time to save, or they, because of COVID, started their own business or changed jobs. They need seasoning. Those are legit buyers, and they have cash to put down. When we do that, we have a 2 to 10% default rate. Usually 2 to 5, right? I'm being conservative. 2 to 10% of the buyers. And that's not a bad default rate, as you know, if you compare that to government loans or anything, because as strict as we can be, that's a really good percentage. You still have people that run up a credit card when you tell them not to right before closing or during the rent-own period, or, they mess up the credit in some way and miss a payment. Life happens, or death or divorce. So that's why you have the 2 to 10% still. So you should not fear as a new investor doing rent to own when done properly. And I don't know anyone else doing it that strict, frankly, in the whole industry.
Love it. Love it. Let's break down just for clarity's sake, because we've used a few different terms, but a lease purchase option deal is in essence, you providing a rent to own opportunity to a buyer who wants to basically rent with the hopes of purchasing that home and owning it outright. Can you just break down the mechanics of how, that works, just in the simplest forms?
Yeah. So no matter how we buy, we exit rent-to-own. So real briefly, we buy owner financing, subject to existing financing, all lease purchase. So that's how we buy. We exit without getting too advanced today on a rent-to-own. And again, the rent-to-own buyer has to go through the process of the qualifications. And if they're accepted and if they have a down payment, they're buying on a definitive date or before. And if they don't, the deposit they put down is non-refundable. That's our payday number one. So
right.
that's the process. If that's what you meant, the acquisition. I mean the disposition side, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And we'll double back to the acquisition side. So that's the one payment, right? Yep. Tell us about the other payments that you get in this deal.
Yeah. So once they're in, so they put that down payment down, then the payday two for us is what? It's the spread, the delta between what we're paying the seller or the seller's underlying debt, and we're paying it direct either way, and what we're collecting monthly for the rent payment from the buyer. That delta for us in our area ranges like $300 to $1,000. And that's about true to the whole student base we have across the country too. So that's payday two. So picture it, you launch a deal like you would a wholesale, or if I was a broker, you launch a deal, you get paid. But then you get, the second you launch that, you get monthly payments. And then payday three is very cool. Payday three is throughout the whole term, 2 years, 3 years, 5, whatever it is. You're accumulating on your side of the spreadsheet, so to speak, your side of the ledger, all the principal pay down that's been building up. That goes back in your pocket at closing and any markup you did on price. So our average, all 3 paydays, is around 75 grand, our family, but it ranges in the community, Brandon, from like a low of 45 grand to a high of $250,000 per deal.
Wow.
You have people out in California in our database that are doing deals in the $1 million range. They tend to blow those 3 paydays up.
Love it. And for these deals, are you most of the time taking over, the majority of the time, are you taking over an existing mortgage? So like you're not having to come up with financing to, purchase the home. You're just taking over somebody that actually has an existing mortgage. So the rent payment just covers their debt service, right?
Yeah, exactly. We'll never, ever, at the peak of COVID, we had 72 properties, our family, not the whole database of students, but 72 properties. We weren't on one loan personally. We never will. It's 100% against what we do. So you are never going to sign personally on loans, pledge your credit, or care about your credit, frankly. You're going to be paying the underlying debt of the sellers, stays in the seller's name in every case. Or if it's owner financing and they were free and clear, then you're going to be paying them instead of the bank.
Love it. Good deal. Let's talk about the acquisition side of things. Sure. I know you mentioned some different types of homeowners that you guys go after. How easy is this conversation actually with the homeowner where you say, hey, let me take over your mortgage? And let me put this with the caveat of, say you're talking with somebody that has an existing database. They've already been wholesaling, because I think a lot of people, my listeners, are already trying to do deals. They're doing deals. They've already been wholesaling. They may have a database of homeowners that the price didn't work for. How could they take what they have and start to put some of these types of deals in place?
Yeah, good question, because we get referrals from wholesalers and rehabbers that don't fit in their box. Picture this. You call your wholesaler. You've got to, or a flipper, you've got to buy that, right? You've got to buy that at whatever your formula is, 60, 70 cents, whatever it is. And if it doesn't fit in that formula, you probably pass. So I've gotten deals where the loan balance is very close to what it was worth, and a rehabber, one of them gives us like 4 or 5 deals a year. They'll just say, I can't do anything with this, Chris. We'll turn that into 3 paydays of 70, 80, 90, 100 grand over the next few years. It's magical the way the 3 payday system has worked. But if you're sitting there now and you start to learn creative and you're already calling sellers, to your point, you are not going to throw away too many deals, unless, the obnoxious ones like, hey, I haven't paid my mortgage in 2 years and there's no equity in the property. And those happen. But for the most part, you'll have an answer for the seller. Then you'll look like the authority, the expert, because you can buy it creatively, full price, whatever it might be, if you get the right term. And if they need out yesterday and your formula works, that's great too. But I really think, Brandon, I had an attorney who's on several real estate commissions on my podcast like a month ago. I don't know if it aired yet, but I didn't realize the extent of this. He went through all the states and what they're doing with the wholesaling, and it's pretty nasty. So they got to be aware of, hey, learn creative to pivot, and so you can be flexible.
Yeah. And what you're talking about is, all the rules and regulations around wholesaling, like having to have a license or some of these other things that people are putting in place, makes you want to be able to have other options and exit strategies. Some folks are going out and getting their license just to kind of be prepared for that. But to your point, being able to work creatively, let's walk through. And before we kind of walk through the deal that you mentioned earlier, say you have somebody in your database that they have a mortgage. There's an existing mortgage on their property. You've already talked to them. You made an offer. It didn't work. What would that conversation be? What would that next conversation to that seller be? How would you walk them through, trying to set up a deal where you can do this type of exit strategy? Yeah.
So let me preface it with this. This is great. Just think of this. You're never, ever going to try to convince someone. I get that question all the time. What do you do to convince them? Nope, you don't. You find out why, where, when. Why are you selling? Where are you going? When you need to be there? And if that doesn't happen, what's your plan B? So once you know the motivation or the stress, if it is stress, then you can solve for it. So to your question, if they already have a bunch that they knew kind of were motivated, but the people couldn't go for their price or their offer, then you call them back. Hey, yeah, I would probably say something like, hey, I spoke with my partners. There's a couple of different options we can re-explore. We don't have to be that low or whatever you gave them. And then get real good at pivoting on these deals. Get someone in your back pocket. Get us or someone who can help you with creative in your back pocket. And I guarantee you, if someone has a database, Brandon, I don't know, let's say they have a couple hundred leads or whatever, there's some deals in there that are really lucrative in the 3 payday world.
Love it. And so, there's so many different ways that you can structure a creative deal. I think that, I've typically defaulted to cash offers because there's so many routes you could go. Do you guys have a kind of go-to, term that you try to set up? Or is it always, hey, buy the deal based on what they have going on?
Really deep question. It depends. I'm going to be loose here, but it depends. Why? Sure. If I'm doing a lease purchase with you and it's your primary residence, I kind of have an obligation morally and ethically to let you know if you go past 3 years, you're going to get whacked with capital gains. Like there's things like this that we need to be aware of because they have to be there 2 out of 5 years, right? For their exclusion, if it's a primary. So if it's lease purchase, that's an issue. If they care about it. Secondly, if that after that, it always goes to what you said, the latter part of your statement, which is it depends on the deal, the term. Like here's an example. If someone says to me, well, I need cash down, because we don't typically do cash down, or I need this price. If they're demanding 1 or 2 terms, I'm going to say, maybe I can do that, but I need a longer term, right? That's my leverage. So I tell them, I got a seesaw here, buddy. I got term, I got price, and I got monthly. Well, I can't give you all 3. And the sellers go, oh, okay, that's fair. Like, just be honest with them. And so it depends on their deal, Brandon. Like there might be someone, this building I did a deal and the term was 20 years. Do most homeowners want to do 20? No, but will they go 10? Yep. More so than I ever thought, because we used to do like 4 or 5. So you tend to get a little bit more confident around the terms once you do more deals, or again, put someone in your back pocket that can help you do these like that, because it just depends. And by the way, because there are so many ways to do creative and what you just kind of alluded to your last 2 questions, that's why I stay in the biz. It does not get boring in creative. There's no deal that's the same. I'll get a deal tomorrow from a student that I'll be like, wow, that's a different one. So as long as I've been at it.
Very cool. One of the things that I've always heard, right, and is when you're going, and I just want to arm the listener with kind of some steps that they could take.
Sure.
And one of those things is already, hey, have somebody that that already does these types of deals, so that you can, bring in that partner and say, hey, I want to connect you with my buddy or my partner that can kind of help walk through this deal. Yeah. But to know that you actually have something, right? Is asking for the PITI, right? The principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Are there certain, sellers that, have, the PITI, I guess, that would be too high, too low? Like, are there some ways you can kind of weed out certain sellers to say, hey, oh, this would be a great opportunity, or this would not be a great opportunity?
Yeah, if there's a payment that's too high, we do have an exit option that does sort of sound and behave like a wholesaler. We call it an assign out, because if it's too high, we can't create a good enough spread, or frankly, all 3 paydays don't look lucrative enough because we don't care about just payday 2. Then we pass and say, look, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, it seems like it's a little bit out of whack on a monthly basis. Let me take it to market and see what I can do. And no guarantees, contingent upon me finding something. And if I get that, I'm going to assign my buyer back to you. So I just get 1 check instead of 3. But so there's an out usually. The only deal that precludes us from going forward, Brandon, usually is the what I alluded to earlier facetiously, but it's accurate. And that is they call and they say, look, I've been behind for 12 or 18 months. There's no equity left, and they just gave up. And there's no reason for me to put up cash if there's no equity to buy, so to speak. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. Awesome. Last thing with that is you mentioned that you have students that like different types of deals. Are there lists or lists that you can pull, or ways that you can kind of weed out, maybe in your database, who to start to have this conversation with? Yeah.
So we have a service that gives you the first 3 things I had said earlier: the expired, the for sale by owner, and the for rent by owner. We have a database that spits those out every day. You or your virtual assistant, ideally your virtual assistant, will call them. And then the lists, we also have databases that they can just sort through lists. They can sort through tax delinquents. They can sort through absentee owners. They can sort through free and clear, which I love. They can sort for all those criteria, like in seconds. It's easy nowadays.
Got it. Love it. You did mention briefly, and I just want to revisit it, that there are certain situations where, it may hurt the seller tax-wise. And were you speaking specifically about homes that are free and clear in that scenario?
No, good clarification. Free and clear or free and clear owner financing or subject to I'm buying anyway. They're out. But a lease purchase is what I meant, because if I'm doing a lease purchase, let's say it's you've lived in this home for 10 years, and you go, I'm out here, Chris, I'm going south. Can you buy my home? Yes, I agree to lease purchase. Okay. The tax code says, and I'm not an accountant, but the tax code says you got to be in your home for two of the last 5 years look back in order to maintain your exclusion of $500,000 filing couple or $250,000 of filing single of profit. You won't get taxed on. Being basic to my answer. So if you don't want to lose that and you do it proper in the house, you're going to make sure that title passes within 36 months, right? Because 2 out of 5 means it's empty for 3 years, or you're gone for 3 and you're renting it, whatever. You got to make sure title passes. So 2 ways around that: make sure your lease purchase is on or before 36 months, or explain to the homeowner, if I don't get it done in 36 months, I can just buy it sub to the existing financing, and that will stop the clock. Title transferring stops the clock.
Got it. And just to clarify, because I thought at first I thought we were talking about on a sub 2 type of deal where there's a homeowner with the mortgage, and then you go out and find a buyer. I thought that was a lease purchase situation. Are you differentiating? Yeah, you're right on the buyer's side. It can be rent owner or lease purchase. You're right on that side. When I buy lease purchase or owner financing or sub 2, I'm always selling rent owner. Rent owner is also called lease purchase. Yeah, sure. Got it. Understood. Let's break down that deal that you just did here recently. Tell me about it. Was this something that fell in your lap? Did you go after this commercial unit? Like, how did that come about? Yeah, we were renting space till about 2018, and then we were growing out of it, and we were paying too much rent. So I found this building. It was free and clear. No surprise. That's what I teach people to do, right? Free and clear owner. He was no dummy to real estate. He owned most of the land, probably the 3rd largest landowner on the island. We live on an island, a 3-town island. And I approached him. He had a big sign out front. It said owner financing. And guess what brokers were doing? Bringing him offers. And he kept saying, no, I don't want it. Why didn't he want it? Tax reasons and estate planning. He wanted owner financing. So some owners love this if they're free and clear. So I approached him. I said, I'll give you full price if I get my term. We literally sat in this office, Brandon, where I'm sitting today talking to you, because this was his office. And he said, okay, what do you have in mind besides the price? We agreed that full price. Well, I said, I want a nice long term. He gave me 20 years. But then I said, I want principal only monthly payments. And he almost fell off his chair, because this is a commercial guy. Like, this is not what he's used to. He said, I want 5.5% interest rate. I said, well, we usually don't, Alan. So
how about we do this? And here's what we structured. I call it a hybrid. We structured 18 months of principal only. Picture that. On a commercial building, you're never getting that from a bank. 18 months of principal only. At that point, we took the remaining balance and amortized it. I lowered it to 5.2. I got a little bit better rate from him because I wanted my payment at a certain level. And then we've had it ever since. Now, I plan on keeping it. He passed away. My companies were in here. He passed away a couple of years ago. COVID happened. And all the employees we used to have here are all now spread all over the country. They're not here because of COVID. Thank you, COVID.
Right.
So my leasing agent, to make a long story short, said, Chris, I know you want to fill the space, but I got a couple people that probably would buy it. So I put a 1.2 million price on it. I bought it for 550. He brought me 3 showings, 2 offers, 180 grand over asking. I said, okay, I guess I'll sell it. So we closed last Friday. We profited about 735 on the HUD.
Amazing. That is amazing. I love that. And just to be clear, and the reason specifically for him wanting to do this deal out the gate, can you just talk about the tax benefits?
Yeah.
For you, when you're doing seller financing, I think I've heard that you don't get the tax benefits as the buyer, right? Of the property. Can you just briefly kind of clarify and help us understand where that falls?
The seller had 2 reasons to do this deal that he was very adamant about. He was adamant about me not refinancing it, even though he forgot to put a prepay in because of tax reasons. He didn't want to get hit all up front. Now, everybody's tax situation is different, right? Depending on what you're carrying in the properties and all kinds of things we could get into. But his situation was he did not want to get taxed up front. He did not want a cash sale. And I don't want to get the details here because they can ask the CPAs, but when you have a payment, an installment sale like this, you're getting taxed still, sure, but you're getting taxed proportionately every month, a little bit, based on your difference between basis and gain. That's all, without getting too crazy.
Yeah.
So that's what he wanted. The second thing he wanted, and my wife just said to me 2 days ago, I think he must have known he was sick because he also wanted it to be more of his wife and his son not being left a building, but being left an income stream, sadly, because he did pass away. So I think this was all part of his plan. And now they get checks. Until last Friday, they were getting checks every month. And then we close and she get a big bulk sum, the ex-wife, the widow.
Nice.
So yeah, the tax benefits all fall on them, Brandon. On my end, what was my benefit? Well, think about this. I didn't go to a bank and go through commercial underwriting. That's grueling. I can't, sorry, but I hate banks. I didn't want to deal with that.
Right.
Secondly, they would have to require me to put up anywhere between 20 and 35% in this climate. Third, if you go to a commercial bank now, you're not getting a rate that even makes sense. So there's so many reasons I don't want to, and you sign your name personally. Let me take all your assets if something happens. No, thank you.
Right. I love it. No, that's amazing. That's an amazing deal. Real quick, before I let you go, I got to put you through the lightning round. We'll go rapid fire on this. What is one book that's been instrumental to your growth as a real estate investor?
Ray Dalio, Principles. I revisit. It's just an amazing book for anyone.
Love it. If you could have drinks or coffee with any one person, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Frankly, any president, present or past, because what I constantly look at what they go through, and this is not a political thing. I could kill us what they are, Democrat or Republican. I just think they go through so much stress. Like, I want to know, how the heck do you compartmentalize that? That's one person I'd love to talk with. Love
it. What's one mistake on a deal or in business in general that if you had a do-over, you would take that do-over?
I'm going to be more broad. Any deal that you rush through, if you feel rushed and you feel that in your gut, do not do it. I've done it too many times that I don't even want to admit to, and it just causes headaches every time.
Love it. What's the financial goal that you guys have set for your team, your real estate team for this calendar year?
We are all about, until 25, we're in a new mission, a 3-year mission, really the amount of transactions with students. Because when students do deals, then we all grow, we all win because we revenue share.
Yeah.
It's not just about showing them and letting them be.
Love it. If you woke up tomorrow with $500 million deposited into your account overnight, what's the first thing you would go out and purchase with that newfound money?
A really good, and I know the person, planner. I wouldn't purchase that. I'd put the money with him.
There you go. Smart, man. Last one. What's your best advice for someone looking to scale their business?
Okay, I'll give you 3 quick steps then. This is a good one. Any business. 1, pick the niche you're going to be in, or industry if it's not real estate, right? But in real estate, pick the niche you can really get behind. Like if you really care about people, creative might be a good one because it's a lot of win-win. 2, find someone in that niche. You and I kind of alluded to this, that has kind of been there, done that, but be very careful. The person also should align with you personally. If somebody goes out and builds a monster business, I know plenty of people, but they wreck their marriage or their kids' relationship, not a win in my opinion. So make sure that all aligns. 3rd, put the blinders on for 3 to 7 years with that group or person, and do not get slipped up or tripped up by the shiny object syndrome in real estate. Stay focused on that niche. You'll have a great experience if you do those 3 things, and you'll
love it.
You'll scale nicely.
I love that little nugget, 3 to 7 years of rocking with that mentor. This has been great, Chris. I really appreciate your time. I want to know, where can folks go to learn about the coaching program and follow along in your journey?
I appreciate it. I'll give you 2 links. So we did a link for your tribe only. We'll send them physical copies of a couple of our best-selling books, the main one being Real Estate on Your Terms. They don't have to pay for shipping. It's not one of those fake offers that says it's free and it's not. Just go to wickedsmartbooks.com/Brandon, and then the numeric number 1, Brandon 1. If they want to chat, this usually works well, Brandon. I'll do free calls with people. Like, it's about telling me what your challenges are, and I'll tell you what the bridge could be to get you there. And that's just go to smartrealestatecoach.com/action. And we'll get on the phone and we'll chat.
Love it. Good stuff. Well, this has been great. I appreciate you. I'm going to keep following along in your journey, and I know you're going to continue to crush it. Guys, by the way, head over to sendmoreoffers.com. While you're there, there's nothing for sale, just a bunch of great information, show notes from all these great guests. And if you're in Atlanta, you have a deal or anything, want to connect with me, that's the best way to do so at sendmoreoffers.com. Chris, I appreciate you. This has been great. As always, guys, send more offers, do more deals. Till next time, peace.
That's all for this episode of the Send More Offers Real Estate Show with Brandon Barnes. But we know you're craving more knowledge to get yourself ready for that next deal. To schedule a call with Brandon to learn more about how to do deals consistently without seller appointments in a repeatable way, be sure to visit us at sendmoreoffers.com. And be sure to tune in for the next episode of the Send More Offers Real Estate Show.